just the reality.
It's funny because my first job as a manager, he told me your staff shouldn't see you sweat, right? Like they
Mhm,
should
mhm,
see you,
mhm.
they shouldn't see you in a panic, right? They should
Yeah,
see you composed. But I'm like, and so I took that advice and felt like I was supposed to protect my staff. But I'm like, they need
right,
like so I'm not one to go in and something goes wrong and I focus on how we're gonna fix it, right?
right,
Let's fix it, and then we could
right.
revisit what went wrong and make sure it doesn't happen again, right? That is one of the things I've learned. But I do think
Yeah.
it's important for them to know the urgency of things, or if they mess things up, they need to understand the impact. And Angelita, you said something about education. I'm big on that too. I believe in
Mhm.
every role is a cog in the machine, and they should know how what they contribute their part, how it impacts the whole, right?
Yeah.
So I'm big on taking the time and explaining those things, but I'm also so that way when they can embrace that, they know the impact of if they do it wrong, why is it such a big deal? Or if things are, like I do think it's important for your employees to know the 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 atmosphere that we're in right now. Like if it's urgency, they should feel the urgency. If it's pressure, they should feel the pressure. I don't think that my shoulders can hold that anymore.
Mhm.
And I don't think that it should.
Okay, so Holly, having that experience in a very male-dominated environment, the military, and then moving into the cannabis industry, where I'm assuming that you work with a lot of women now. So, what do you see the difference in how men deal with leadership and how women deal with leadership? And do you think that women step up and are leaders and deal with leadership?
Well, I'm kind of a recent graduate from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, the new Master of Science program. And one of the things they taught us in that program was you're pioneers. So
Mm,
I'm coming from the military into semi retirement and then going into this master's program. And now I'm in the cannabis sector as a professional. So, and I'm coming into it as a pioneer, as someone who's ready to lead, who's someone who's ready to roll their sleeves up and break new ground and be that astronaut on the far flung planet, because that's kind of what I was taught to do through that program. And there are phenomenal people coming out of that program, men and women, and doctors, lawyers, nurses, and then you have bud tenders who are just coming in there to get a I guess an accreditation or get some credit in the cannabis industry. So as far as working with men and women, golly, I got to be honest with you. I've been in school for so long, and then I'm just kind of I have my own business, so I'm kind of the head dog here. So I don't I don't really manage people. So I guess I'll have to pass on that question.
so, do you have an opinion on it?
uh, uh, I must say that managing women, I'm not that familiar with, honestly. But I'm grabbing onto it. And I must say, the women that I've met in the cannabis industry thus far have just been rock stars. They
Mm-hmm.
have taken me basically, under their wing and have been super cool, just super cool people. I guess I haven't been around enough to really feel the sting or bite yet of anything. I've been very lucky in that case, I guess. But so far, it's just been fantastic. Enjoying the women that I'm affiliated with on a daily basis. The Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce has just been fantastic. Melanie Wenzel, meeting her was just a dream. So I've just been, I don't know, I have rose colored glasses on, maybe. I'm just very happy to be in this space right now.
Well, some days I'm one DM and one email from being cynical, but and what surprises me are the messages and emails that make me feel that way are from women who are not members of the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, which I find interesting. And I like to believe the women that are in the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce are absolutely incredible women because, like all of you are, they are leaders in their own rights. And they're more than just leaders in their own business. They are leaders in their community, whether that be the cannabis community or other aspects of the community. So I I wonder if women in the cannabis space need to pay more attention to how to be leaders. Any thoughts on that? So, like Angelita, you're out there with NCIA and uh, the Indigenous Business Association. I didn't even get that one right, did I? Um,
ICIA.
yeah. So, in that, do you think that the women that are around, do you think that they need to think of themselves more as leaders and use the principles and qualities of leadership?
Why not? I think we all should. I
Well,
mean,
that was a very good answer. Okay, that was 10 seconds off the clock there. Uh, now, I truly think that we should all be more focused on being leaders, and that doesn't mean in terms of being a CEO or self-employed, owning your own company, because being a leader translates into how you deal with being an activist and advocating. I mean, and I think I don't. Someone said, in regards to, because I totally believe this, that women are very good at leadership and negotiations. If you've ever had children, because it is about leadership, and every day from the time they start talking to the time that they have their own children, you're always in a state of negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
And leadership and negotiation seems to be areas where we don't have confidence. So is the issue self-confidence or is the issue leadership?
I think that you need to decide for yourself. And this is why I say self awareness is important. Not everyone wants to be a leader. And if you don't want to, that's completely okay. You don't have to be the head of everything. Sometimes you might just want to step into the role of doing. Everyone can't lead, right? Like there has to be one leader and then, bunch of followers. So I think that it's okay to know where you fall in the pecking order. And maybe right now you might not want to lead. That doesn't mean you're not going to be a leader tomorrow. Or maybe you're leading in different aspects of your life, but your corporate position, you don't want to be a leader. That's completely okay too. I think that it's being aware of what your goals are and making sure that you're setting up yourself to fulfill those goals and be okay with where you are and what you're doing. I think that's important.
Uh, so within the cannabis industry, I mean, and this does happen in other industries, but the things that happen in other industries seem to be more intense and predominant in the cannabis industry. And so, as a woman, when you step up and you speak up,
Hmm.
you're not often perceived as a leader, you're perceived as a bitch.
I think that's been corporate America, my whole corporate America experience. So I wouldn't say that this is just like exclusive to the industry. We live in a world where most of business is predominantly men. Angelita, you're a tax professional. My profession is mostly men. Like, this is the truth about accounting. And so I think that again, it's what your goals are. Like, what do you want on a personal level? And what and perception is just that. Like you can't change what anyone else perceives you to be, right? Like you could be sweet and someone could think you're a bitch. Right? Like, so I feel like you can't really get caught up on what everyone else is thinking. I think that people are going to respect you when they realize that what you're saying holds weight. Like it's factual. Know what it is that you're standing on. If you're standing on a solid foundation and respect, whether they want to call me a leader, whether they want to call me, like, does it matter what they're calling me? I think as long as your actions are making you a leader, not necessarily the title.
Okay. Okay. So April, I'm going to assume that, being in real estate, that your client base is predominantly men, since not a lot of women are in the plant touching part of the industry. So do you find that that is true, that the companies that you're selling property to for dispensaries and cultivation and extraction, is that predominantly male?
Yes. Yes. Usually the way it's set up is from top to, I would say, mid-level is all gentlemen. Now, do I find that some companies are more aware of other opinions and are more open-minded to hear my opinion? Yes. But I feel like that goes on experience and being able to show that I do know necessarily what I'm doing. So that factor, I think, is something that would happen over time. But in this particular space, time is not a commodity we have. So
Yeah.
it's kind of trying to pivot through, what works and what doesn't. But I do agree, it's what you desire at your self pace. So if your goal is, let's say, not even a 5-year goal, 2-year goal, 3-year goal, where you want to see yourself, and you meet those levels, then that's something that I feel like also a leadership role has too.
So to wrap this session up, um, what do you think that women in the cannabis industry should do to move their careers forward, to stay in this industry, to not get burned out? Just in general, what's your advice to women in the cannabis industry? How much should they step up? How much should they speak out? Because women are afraid to, because they don't want to lose their position. So, um, so what would you like to share with other women in this industry? And we'll start with you real quick, Angelita.
I mean, I just try to do what I just try to do what I can handle. I mean, I do have 2 businesses, but sometimes it can be very overwhelming. Like right now, it's tax season still for me. So, just to get on this podcast, is kind of overwhelming sometimes because I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, I got all these taxes still to do. But, you just try to take what you can take and try to do what you can do. I still, in the back of my mind, I want to, do as much activism as I can do. Here in my state of Georgia, I haven't done as much as I can. But you can only do what you can do. And just don't get overwhelmed with yourself, and just do what you can do.
So, Holly, Holly, from the position of a woman who just started a women's organization, what do you think that women should do to move ourselves forward quicker in this industry?
Well, first of all, what kind of stuck out to me was if you're afraid to speak up where you're working, that's a toxic work environment, and get out of it as soon as possible. I mean, that would that'll take years off your life. Kind of fermenting and I've been in those positions before. I was HR for the tribes, and it was a nightmare job. It paid well, and I needed to do it to help support my family. But there were times that I would just say to my assistant, this job is going to kill me. And so I was happy to see that job go away, and I moved into something else. Decided to go the cannabis route and go back to school and get my master's degree. and luckily found that the great program at the University of Maryland and in the School of Pharmacy. So I look at it as a good thing, but definitely if you're in a toxic work environment, and I'm sure that there are those out there. I do have a podcast. I do talk to people in the industry on the regular, and I'm sure there are cannabis businesses out there, male dominant, who are toxic work environments. But just because you want to be in the cannabis industry, you don't have to suck up being abused, for sure. And there's lots of opportunities out there as well. Branch out, start your own business. Being a woman of color, I'm a Native American woman. There's social equity licenses out there. With Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce here, start mixing around and get to know women here in the Chamber of Commerce that can help you grow your business, mentor you through starting your business and being successful. I see seeds that could be planted here and grown all the way to fruition. Honestly, that's why I love this platform. And I want to thank you, Addison and April, for allowing, for hosting this type of experience for women in the cannabis industry. So I guess to move forward, give Addison a call.
or send me an email because I don't answer the phone because of all the spam I get. So, but thank you so much, Holly. That was very sweet. So, Katie, from where? Okay, so get my pointer here. So, Katie, being in branding and marketing, so you should have some insight into that because branding and marketing, you oftentimes end up being your client's therapist.
Yeah, you can say that again. Seriously, I joke all the time with what I do. It's something that is objectively, to people who are not in what I do, easy. And the reality is it's not easy what we do. And so I think in the particular line of work that I've decided to choose for myself for the rest of my career, being able to set boundaries and stick to those boundaries, do not let anybody cross those boundaries, is very important. So that's in the workplace. That's also on a personal level, emotionally, because we talked about obviously emotion a little bit today and business and how the crossover is there. People will cross the boundary if you let them. You need to make sure that you know what those boundaries are and stick with them. So I think, from a branding standpoint, if we want to talk a little bit about my background, people tend to think that they could just do it themselves, or this is an easy edit, or I don't understand why we have to do all of this other stuff. I just need a logo. My least favorite sentence of all time. We also have to educate a lot with what we do and understanding that you're hiring an expert for a reason, whether that is in the design field, whether that's an accountant, whether that's a real estate agent, whether that's someone who's going to bring you into a podcast to talk about what you do. There's so many different things that you're not an expert in and you shouldn't claim to be. I would never in a million, I'm telling you, Judith and Angelita, you do not want me near a spreadsheet. You do not want me doing any taxes. You do not want me doing any math. But on the other hand, right, like creating a logo and a whole brand style guide is not something you would probably ever, I don't know your background specifically, but most likely, that's not your forte. So I think, keeping people in their lane is also really important as well. And understanding that you're bringing someone in for a reason and trusting that they're going to do that. If you don't have trust in either your team or your clients, your business partners, what have you, you're not going to be able to move forward because that trust is really important there too. So I think hopefully that answered the question. Again, I tend to go on rants, as you know, but
and so do I. That's why I need adult supervision. So, thank you, April. So, the voice of reason. So, April, what do you think women need to do to move themselves forward in the cannabis industry in states like Florida, where you only have medical and you're fighting the battle for rec?
Have a little bit more faith in yourself, because I feel like that's you. Everything is going to be a ripple effect of how either you feel or how you present yourself. If you're presenting yourself truly how you feel, it's going to come across, as natural as possible. So for me, it would be just stay true to yourself. I wouldn't say put all your defenses down, because at the same time, you do need to take care of yourself, but realize that if you give just a little bit, you can still kind of, defend your personal feelings, but still, not be that you're not able to play well with others. So that's what I would say, especially in Florida, the way that it's set up. We are, seed to sale, so there is no, ancillary places in our state. And there's only 22 operators right now operating. So it's very limited and everybody knows everybody in that space. Good thing as well as bad thing. So just straight stay true, say no, and don't ever, I would say, don't ever jeopardize what you hold true to your values, regardless if it's business or in person, because people will remember that.
Mhm.
Good. So Judith, you're in an entirely different market. You're playing in the New York market, the
Mhm.
most competitive, hottest market right now. What is your what would you like to say to the women in New York that are and the women coming in from other states who are going into the New York market? Um, what's your thoughts on what they need to pay attention to? What
Mhm.
they and what leadership roles they should take. Just in general, what's your thought?
One, I would say, like, don't shrink, right? The industry needs us. They need our voice. They need our visions. They need our leadership, right? So it might not happen overnight, but it happens relatively quickly if you stay consistent. Um, know that all money is not good money. And so walk into things knowing that you're taking on clients based off of how you feel too, because there's nothing worse than a client from hell, especially when they're not trying to pay you full value, right? Also, know your value. Don't be afraid to say no, right? It's okay. That's the power of negotiation. It's not always going to go in your favor. So know what your like when I go into a call, I always have like what my base is that I'm willing to accept, and I always throw it over. So that way, when they negotiate, at least it'll try to be more in the range of what I'm looking for. So know your worth. Um, know that you cannot do it all, and know the importance of if you are trying to build a business. If the business is built around you, then you are not a business owner. You are just an employee of that business. You want to be able to take vacations and not have to worry about the machine not being able to run because you're not able to turn on the power, right? So I think that it's very, very important that you lay down that foundation and that you make your processes so detailed that anyone can jump in and fill the role, right? Especially when you're just building and you're working with contractors, or you might not have a consistent employee setup. So that's really, really my advice is just, don't think that you're the only person who is capable of doing something. And I think that's one of the things that we struggle with. Like April, you said earlier, um, I know if I do it, then I could do it right. If you document what you're doing, someone else could jump in and do it too, right? That's what a guide is for.
Agreed.
Um, don't stress yourself out. Like, you have to learn to accept help, because we always say, "Oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed," but then we never want to accept help. So know when to take help. Um, know what it is that you want, and also know that there's a lot of business in New York, right? I'm lucky enough to there's a lot of business, and there's a lot of businesses that are going to open. So know where you fit in. Know that you don't need to offer everything. Niche down to, like, like, there's a something very special about being able to niche down and specializing in one thing and becoming an expert in that thing versus trying to do it all. And that way you could build around that, and then you can go on and expand, and then you can become more active as a leader. You could become more of the, like, if you want to be more of an activist, you're able to free up time to be able to balance yourself out. So it takes a little time in the beginning, but don't give up. Know that you're valued, know that you're needed, and know that you're respected. And if you're not being respected, that's the one thing that you demand. Like that shit is free, right? Respect. Don't let anyone disrespect you, especially if you walked away from your job because you felt like you weren't valued. Now you're working for yourself. So what excuse do you have?
Wow, thank you all for participating in this. Um, you are all amazing women, and I think that you brought a lot of value to the audience. And it's just, you always inspire and motivate me. It's just, I am so blessed to have women like the five of you in my life. And if I was not in cannabis, our paths would never cross. And I think that's the most amazing thing about it. People talk about diversity in cannabis and they think about skin color. That's not where the diversity is. This is where the diversity is meeting people from all walks of life and all backgrounds and coming together with one purpose. Thank you so much. All of your information and links will be in the comments. And I hope, hello, becoming a little rock star here.